Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to another Scaring Myself Shitless Halloween edition of Wade Watches. I'm Wade, and today I'm going to be reviewing Trick or Treat, directed by Michael Dougherty and starring Quinn Lord, Anna Paquin, Dylan Baker, and Brian Cox. So, this is a movie whose poster alone has always intrigued me to watch it. I've had it on my watch list for a long time, and finally, this time of year came around, and I had a very solid excuse to watch it. And I've been really wanting to watch it for a while because I'm a fan of Michael Dougherty. He directed Krampus, a movie that I thoroughly enjoy watching, both for Halloween and for Christmas. So this time of the year and a little bit further on down the road, it's basically what the nightmare before Christmas. That's basically my nightmare before Christmas. I watch it during Halloween and during Christmas. It perfectly fits both holidays because it's a perfect blend of, kind of that Christmas comedy, kind of like a bit of National Lampoons, but also when the horror kicks in, it really does kick in. So I won't say too much about Krampus because might review that one a bit later on down the road for this series. But anyway, I just know that I love Krampus, so I've definitely been wanting to see how Michael Dougherty handled Halloween because he directed Trick or Treat first, so I wanted to see what he did with Halloween before he got to Christmas, and I was not at all disappointed. This movie blew my expectations out of the water. Again, I didn't watch trailers before watching this. I've only ever seen the poster of like this kind of what I assume to be like the main antagonist, like the villain, the monster in the movie, like some monster, or demon, or ghost, disguised as an innocent little kid with a little kind of old timey looking Halloween costume on, and I assumed it was just about this thing that went around fucking terrorizing people. And I won't say much here, as I usually don't, but there's some truth in that, but it's not really. I would say that that kid, I won't even say what it is, we'll just call him the kid. I won't say I will say that the kid was less involved than I initially thought, and that's not a bad thing at all. It's just, like I said, I've only ever seen the poster, so I'm thinking like the kid's the monster and it goes around just like fucking with people on Halloween. I don't know. But no, instead we have ourselves here an anthology movie. Let's see, one, two, three, four. Yes, four intertwining stories. They all take place on the same night, Halloween night, in this small town of some. I'm gonna grab my phone. I don't care. I'm just gonna cheat. Because I'm sure it's not a real town. Let's see here. Yep, just a small town. I don't know why. I just want to give you guys specific. I just want to give you guys nothing but the facts. Let's see. Ohio, this like small little town in Ohio, and it's just, yeah, they're four different tales of terror, and they all kind of they intertwine. So it's one of those things where characters from each of the stories come across each other, bump into each other. Their stories kind of connect in some parts, and thankfully all of these stories are gruesomely, morbidly hilarious and enjoyable. Like, wow, Michael Doherty, Doherty. I hope I'm saying your last name right. He really knows how to blend horror and comedy perfectly. Like, he did it really perfectly with Krampus, and I know that movie. Every movie has its critics, but I know Krampus um, has some critics, but I really enjoy Krampus. It's a solid movie for me, and Trick or Treat is another solid movie by this director. I would say that in comparison to Krampus, this one definitely more brutal because it has the R rating, and Krampus is PG-13. So here, the blood, the gore, just like kind of even like that, the dark humor, it's all dialed up to 11, and it works. It really does work. There wasn't a single story in this movie that I found boring or engaging. There was never a moment where I was like, let's get back to these folks, let's get back to this story, this plot. Everything really landed with me to the point where I will say that this is one of, if not my favorite Halloween movie, and by that I mean a movie that centers around the actual holiday itself. I'm not talking about the Michael Myers franchise. I'm talking about like movies that take place on this holiday and heavily feature this holiday. I'm like searching my brain and trying to think about anything that could be considered a flaw or a shortcoming. I do have one actually. Again, without, I want you to go in blind. If you've never seen this movie before, it's on Max. If you haven't, watch it. Be just like me and go in knowing nothing about this movie. But that being said, I do have one critique, and that would be that there is, trying to be as vague as possible, the movie seems like the way it opens, you think it's gonna go like, okay, well, it's gonna be about people being caught doing this, and that's the reason why these things are happening. That's why these people are being fucked with, just based off of the opening of the movie. The movie sets up for it to be like, okay, so that's why shit's gonna go down in this town. And I will say that all of the stories, while they're done really well, like damn, like just the dark comedy really lands, and it's really dark comedy. While they're done morbidly well, and while they definitely paid off for somebody who has a slightly dark sense of humor like yours truly, um, I will say that it would have been interesting to see how the movie opens up, like that plot point, like this is why this is going to happen to people. It would have been more intriguing to see that like expanded upon a bit more. This movie's only 80 minutes long, so it's obviously not a long movie. It's just four stories, so it kind of opens and wraps up pretty quickly. But it would have been nice if that plot element, which it pops up in each of the stories, and you'll see what I'm talking about. Like you'll pick up on what I'm talking about right away if you watch this movie. It pops up in each of the stories, and there's kind of, and like I said, I told you that the stories do intertwine, and there's something that pretty much connects all the stories together. And I guess it's just to this movie's compliment that that was done so well that I wouldn't have minded a whole movie devoted to this happening to certain people who do a certain thing, as opposed to these stories just happen to feature people doing a certain thing, but they're not going out of their way to do a certain thing, or they're not like, that's not their straight up motivation. That's not like the whole point of each of the stories. It just happens to feature in the stories, and so this thing happens. Something pops up in relation to this little plot point being featured, but it's not the whole point of the movie. I could have watched a whole movie devoted to this one plot point because I loved it. I love what they did. And there was even some stuff that even kind of got to me. I think that's because Michael Dougherty uses he's definitely a fan of creature design. He kind of reminds me of Guillermo del Toro, where it's not all about CGI. He loves practical creature effects, and that's featured here. And some of the best I've ever seen. Like in terms of like, practical effects and like actual, like I guess like kind of puppets, animatronic monsters. Holy shit. It's on the same level as what he did with Krampus, where those weren't CGI monsters. Those were like actual creatures that were built. Like I loved it. I loved it. And I'm not going to give away who, of course, you can kind of look at the poster and tell, but I'm not going to give away, the big creature in this movie. But I will say, when it's all revealed, loved it. Loved that design. So, yeah, wrapping it up, and I did not expect to love this movie as much as I did. I thought it would kind of be similar to Krampus, where it's like, we're just going to completely traumatize the shit out of you and basically fuck up another fun holiday for you. But no, no, this went above and beyond, and I found it to be like a flawless horror anthology, despite my one critique of wishing that a certain plot point was pretty much like, got more time to develop, because the movie opens so strongly, but there was never a weak point in the movie. It's just I love that strong opening, despite me not getting a lot of that. I still love this movie from start to finish. There's not a single thing I could change. I love the dark humor. I love the blood and the gore. I love the even like the kind of gross out aspect. It didn't feel like cheap. It didn't feel like a cop out. It didn't feel like, oh, we're just gross you out for attention. It all felt warranted because again, this whole this whole movie is obviously written as kind of a dark horror comedy, and it paid off. So yeah, wrapping it up, I'm giving Trick or Treat a perfect 10 out of 10. This is one of the best movies ever made about the actual holiday Halloween itself. And that's including the Michael Myers movies. And while I love some of the Halloween Michael Myers movies, this is even, I would say, in my opinion, at least a step above that, because the thing with the actual movie's called Halloween is that it's just another slasher going around killing people. And again, while I love Michael Myers, that could happen any time of the year, and it could happen in any place. And movies have been made where that happens, during different times of the year and in different places. That's not specific to Halloween. This movie is definitely specific to the holiday, and in my opinion, it really does like capture, like like the dark side of this holiday and look and feel and in tone and in story execution. So again, 10 out of 10 for Trick or Treat. Can't recommend it enough. It's on Max right now. If you have it, go and watch it. Can I highly recommend it. So 10 out of 10 for Trick or Treat. This has been a very fulfilling edition of Wade Watches, and I will be back with more spooky season reviews in the future.